welcome to the MadTrio podcast. This week we have the California Pariah, Jonathan Charney, James the Fat Man Stevens, and the man who promised his girlfriend that you can take medicine for it, Ryan Preston.
Took you a second there, didn't it?
You need to come up with a different one of those every week now.
That's
that
all I'm
was
thinking
funny.
too.
I'll try. I can't promise anything. I'm a little punchy today.
You can recycle them after a year.
That's asking a little much, honestly, especially of me. It really depends if I'm punchy or not. Today's been a long day. Anybody got anything before I go?
So, I came across something interesting. I kind of texted Ryan about this. So, you watch Ken Burns stuff, right?
Yeah, I want to watch the Vietnam one.
That's the one I want to bring up. The Vietnam one, I think, is fantastically done by him. And the thing I like about Ken Burns, and I talked to Ryan about this earlier this week before I figured I was going to bring this up, is I like his way of presenting the facts. I mean, there are conclusions that, some people he interviews are going to have, but he doesn't present it all from one side. He doesn't go at it like, this is what happened in America, this is why we went into Vietnam. He gives it the backstory of how Vietnam got into the trouble they did.
And this one actually has the Viet Cong people. Okay,
because
I
has the
seen
Viet Cong on there, the North Viet Cong, and even the ones in South that were the infiltrators and things like that came in for the Tet, and the if you guys don't know anything
Tet
about
Offensive.
I was gonna say the Tet Offensive. If you guys don't know about that, you're an idiot.
Watch Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah, there you
That'll
go.
catch you up to speed.
Mickey. Anyway, but yeah, I was kind of thinking that a few times. But I knew quite a bit about, the history of Vietnam and why, how it got into the position it was before we entered in to try to save France's face out of it. But there was quite a bit I didn't know first is, Ho Chi Minh, I guess, sent multiple letters to the president that never even got there.
I'm sorry, every time somebody mentions Ho Chi Minh, I remember Good Morning Vietnam and Robin Williams. It ruins
the
everything
interesting
for
thing
me.
was they talked about Ho Chi Minh quite a lot in like the first 4 episodes, and each one of these is like close to 2 hours long. There is one that's over 2 hours.
What was the letters they were sending? Hey, stop?
No, it was basically saying he sent it to them. He sent it to the president saying, hey, this is where we're at. We are trying to establish our own country outside of French rule.
So it never got to the president?
Never got shown to the president.
So
he did more than one. Yeah, they actually had the documents, and they actually showed the documents on it because they were finally released.
So the Pentagon never gave it to the president?
Nope.
Why?
They didn't even say why. There was no why answer that was presented in this documentary.
So who was president at the time? Was it Nixon?
I'm trying to remember. No, it was way before Nixon. It was it wasn't. Oh God, I'm drawing a blank.
LBJ?
It was before LBJ. It was right before LBJ. It was.
See, that's weird.
Roosevelt.
Was it Kennedy?
Kennedy was.
That was after.
Yeah.
Or that before.
So I want because I'm curious to see if the person was like.
And my phone is not going there. There we go.
Like why they wouldn't tell the president. My only thought was the fact that the president probably would have said, "Okay, let's stop the war and let's help them." It's the only thing I could think of, and the Pentagon was probably so, "Hey, we can do it and kick ass."
Here we go.
I mean, what do you think, Ryan? I mean, until he looks it up.
Well, I'll tell you, I don't know enough about Vietnam to speak any kind of intelligently on it. Nor do I do any other subject, by the way. Eisenhower, there you go.
So, yeah, I was trying to remember who it was. But Eisenhower was the first one that had a letter sent to him from Ho Chi Minh, and it never came across his desk. And then the war started breaking out during Eisenhower and was in full force when Kennedy got in there. LBJ was the vice president, if you don't know what's going on, and he became after that.
Of all people,
and
why
then
not,
it went into Nixon.
Of all people, why not put it on Eisenhower's desk, who was an actual, a war general, a hero, a guy that would have gotten it? I don't get
this is the amazing thing. So let's just do this. It was Eisenhower, Kennedy, LBJ, and then into Nixon. That's 4 presidents that this war went through. 4.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's almost what it is now.
The insane thing to me is that
in the United States,
and that's what I brought up to Ryan is watching this entire documentary and how this thing played and came into being. I'm sitting here and I'm like, I've said this for years, but the war in the Middle East that we still are involved in, this is the same thing that I'm looking at Vietnam.
Well,
what's real fucked up about this one, though, this is the first war, I think, in modern history that we've ever been involved in, or I think that we've ever been involved in as a country, that the kids of people who fought in the war are going to go fight in that same war. Like, somebody who was born...
I think Vietnam was like that, though, to some degree.
Vietnam was 10 years.
No, yeah.
So people, my point is, I guess this is what I'm trying to say. People who were born during the war are actually going to fight in that war.
No, because the war started in 2001. If you had a kid in 2001 in 2018,
what I'm going to bring up is that you're wrong. Hold on. John's wrong right there. This started back in Desert Storm.
No,
this
he was
still
technically,
that were raging in Desert Storm.
But this war will be going on next year, and people who were born in 2001 are going to fight in the war that was going on when they were born. Well, that's crazy.
What Ryan is specifically talking about is the current version of this war, which started, when the Twin Towers went down.
But we can't. But yeah, the Twin Towers. But I'm pointing out the fact is that if we take Vietnam as a whole. This started right after 1945. When we stopped World War II, there were issues. That's when France and communism started in Vietnam. So that war was starting then. That's when Russia spread out and started invading other areas. China went over to communism. Russia went over to communism, and it turned into them infiltrating the Vietnam area and trying to take it over. And that's when the communism started. And France came in and said, hey, we're going to take this country and turn it into France.
I would say 1948 is part of it. It's because that was 1948
is that
1948 is when Israel's were created. Was one of the first fans, but the flames. But reality is, I mean, if you read the Bible, the Torah, and even some degree from what I've read of
the Middle East war has been going on for hundreds and thousands of centuries.
The Muslim book, I can never
the Quran.
The Quran. It was the fact it's been around since it's 2,000-3,000, if not 4,000 years old.
What I'm bringing in is Western involvement. What I'm stating is the Western involvement in Vietnam.
1900s and
started
further.
In like the late 1940s.
Yeah,
you don't have to say right at 45, but.
Now we were pretty much almost immediately in a Cold War with Russia after World War II.
Actually, I would say it even kind of started before that because there was a race to Berlin that we lost. By the way,
yeah,
but for sure. The Russians got there first.
It was still mostly about the arms race at that point, which obviously we got there first. Points to us, not like Not like it was a contest, but it was, Well,
it was a contest of whose German Nazi was better.
Well, I mean, but it was also against the scientists. All the scientists wanted to come to us.
Well, exactly. We jacked a bunch of them. Everybody jacked a bunch of them. The rest of them apparently defected to Argentina and had a bunch of kids. But that's okay. So when Russia starts kind of going to all these other countries, sort of, kind of usurping what's ever going on over there, spreading, communism, because they were communists at the time, right?
Vietnam or Russia?
Russia.
Yeah, Russia was communism right off the bat.
So this would have been just kind of par for the course for them. Like, okay, we can't attack America directly, but we're going to just set up camp with all these other countries.
Well, that's kind of what they did. And I mean, Vietnam even was going on with the Cambodia conflict too. If people don't know about that, go look that up. That happened.
Was that the incident leading up to the Kent State deal with the Ohio?
Are you talking about the Kent massacre?
Yeah.
The Kent shooting?
Weren't they
Are you talking about the tent
protesting specifically the Cambodia deal?
Oh yeah. There was the Cambodian slaughter in the midst of Vietnam as well. But what I wanted to bring up the fact is that during Nixon's run, and some of you guys may remember this, some may not, but what I'm talking about is over in Iraq, is that and Nixon brought in the whole campaign of trying to educate some of the outside towns and villages in Vietnam by bringing in schools and teaching them, history and learning to read and write, which wasn't going on. We're doing the same thing not in Vietnam, but over in Iraq. There's been a lot of programs where we're trying to bring in education into them.
Unfortunately, and then this is kind of a broad brushstroke, just to warn you guys. I think this is something we kind of inherited from Britain to be a little bit, because they kind of did that to the colonies too.
Haiti, Jamaica.
Yeah, we try to do it. The problem is the USSR at the time didn't really have the morals to do that. If you want to put it, it was America and England and some Western first world countries have a very moralistic way of looking at things. We're going to bring them up like we did Iraq. Let's give them democracy. Let's give them white bread. They'll be better for it. Yeah. Not everybody wants white bread and democracy. Some people want totalitarianism and rye bread.
Yeah. So another interesting thing that I want to bring up too is this is over 40 years after Vietnam happened. This is the first time I've ever heard Vietnam vets talking openly about Vietnam.
See,
that is crazy to me, because we're a generation that grew up, we're one of those generations that grew up and you respected all the World War II vets, and the Vietnam vets you still had respect for, but you did not ask.
Yeah, right. That was the thing, is you did not bring that one up.
Yeah, I mean, Vietnam vets, you give them their respect, but you don't come up to them and ever ask them about Vietnam.
Oh, by the way,
what was it like?
If you ever want to make a Vietnam vet smile, tell them welcome home.
Yeah.
Trust me on this one. I've done it personally. You'd be amazed the responses you get. I've gotten tears.
I've come up to a few of them.
Well, that's definitely something they didn't really get a whole lot of back in the day.
I was talking with a few of them, and I would come up, and this is something that my brother said to me, and I know he said it to John, is to say welcome home. But there have been Vietnam vets that, I come up to and just kind of talk to them, say hi, talk to them. And even still, it's like you can tell in their eyes that you have to be very careful. And one of the guys who actually spent 2 tours over there. If you guys don't know what a tour was in Vietnam, that was 13 months straight for Marines. And he was talking about he came in. Travis Air Force Base is right down the street from us, or the freeway. But he was talking about coming into Travis Air Force Base, and I mean the car was getting assaulted and peppered and.
Well, I mean,
crazy stuff.
I mean, back when they came home, instead of getting a hero's welcome, or
they got spit on.
Like nowadays, I wouldn't say the vets get a hero's welcome. I kind of think that the day of the hero's welcome is gone. I mean, World War II, you got a ticker tape parade, but imagine when you come back, from Vietnam. You've got Jane Fonda. You got people spitting on you. You're not welcome home. Matter of fact, you're actually called a baby killer. You're called a murderer. And these are the people you fought to, at least in theory, protect. You went there either by the force of a gun or voluntarily to save democracy and Wonder Bread. Instead, you got shit on. So a lot of these vets,
Canada.
a lot of these vets, I know that personally. Well, where they're proud to be an American, they're kind of like, whatever, fuck it, which is amazing to me.
And I've said this before, probably even on this show, but World War II, everyone was real clear on who the bad guy was. You know what I mean? Yeah. With the North Vietnamese and the South Vietnamese and Cambodia and Russia and all these moving parts, it was real hard for the American public to understand what was going on or why things might be going the way they are. But instead of taking it out on the government, they took it out on the troops and shit.
I think there's another major difference, and it was like this in England specifically, and it wasn't like this in the United States in World War II. We as civilians would have been personally affected. In England, for example, there was incredible meat rationing, well, up to the point you could buy offal, which is liver and stuff like that. You can get a bunch of it, as much as you wanted, or you can get like 2 slices of bacon for like the week. So World War II really affected civilians. You could only get gas on certain days. You could only do certain
Right,
things.
right.
You couldn't buy.
Yeah, all the kids are out there collecting scrap metal and shit, you know?
Exactly. Ladies couldn't buy stockings because it was needed for parachutes. Yeah. So the difference was the fact that we as a country had to be behind it because it was costing us so much to do it. Vietnam, because of how high the level of society, the rich we became, how rich we were, we didn't really need to do it. Matter of fact, look at this. From 2001 to now. Where is the rationing? Where is this? Where's that? You could live your life literally without hearing anything about the war. That was part of the problem.
The other issue is that in Vietnam, and Ryan kind of brought it up, is in the difference between World War II and Vietnam is, as he brought up, is there wasn't the black and white of this is your enemy, this is not your enemy. There was the VC, there was the VNA, there was a lot of different things that were going on.
Well, we fought. We went in originally to stop an ideology. It was an ideological war. It was to stop communism because it was so evil. I mean,
that was it. But then when we got there, and we started finding out that all the backstory, as I brought up, of the fact that Ho Chi Minh really wasn't a horrible guy. He really didn't want communism, to be honest. And the thing is that when he reached out to America and didn't get any response back other than them sending troops in, he just kind of looked at it as like, all right, screw it. Who else can I turn to? And he turned to China and Russia.
I'm kind of curious why it never came to the desk. I mean, what was it, McNamara? Robert McNamara that didn't let that.
Yeah, McNamara, I think was Secretary of State during that time, or at least during a good chunk of that time.
So I would be curious on the reason why, because the person had to be a real warmonger. Because realistically, if I was president and I got that, I would be like, okay, we will stop this if you do this.
We're going to assist you in this because it was. And that's the big issue.
Like kind of like we're doing like North Korea. It's like we want to help you, but there are some things you have to do in good faith in order for us to do things.
Well, the other thing is that there was the extremist Viet Cong, and then there were the non-extremist Viet Cong.
That's everywhere, though.
But that's so what it was. And then there was also a lot of horrible policies. And part of the policy was you go into a town and you come across a supply of rice, you poison the rice, and you burn the thatch huts.
Was that the Viet Cong?
No, that was an American policy. That was what the Americans were supposed to do. And there were many vets that said they walked into a town and saw that, all that was left were old men, women, and children. And you're saying you're going to come and kill their food and burn their homes? Are you kidding me? The policy guys don't have to look in these people's faces. The soldiers do.
And to heavily...
And then on top of that, you go into that town, you start burning the huts. What are the kids going to do? Screw this freaking American. I'm going to the Viet Cong.
To paraphrase one of my favorite movies, a small band of people defending their home are worth, 1,000 men in armor. Yeah. When your back's against the wall, you really will do anything.
Yeah.
One of the reasons the Taliban won is winning.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons. That's probably the main reason we lost fucking Vietnam.
Yeah, that's what I'm.
There's no, the position. I've heard actually people have a position like, oh, we kind of won that war. I'm like, based on what?
Well, it's the old thing in combat and in a war situation. You want the enemy to play your game, not the other way around. Because if they play your game, you're already a step ahead of them. One of the reasons
we've all had that kind of fantasy thought of like, oh, just let a motherfucker try to invade this country. We're going to the fucking mattresses. You know what I mean? It's going to be pandemonium. We're handing 10-year-olds guns. That's what it's like for them.
Yeah.
On a day-to-day, like, fuck it, we're digging tunnels. Let's do it.
Yeah, and the Viet Cong didn't turn to China or Russia for arms for quite a few years, actually. They were picking up M16s off of dead American soldiers, and then they turned over to...
I'm sorry, it probably did the same thing to the United States. It probably killed a bunch of VC in the process.
Well, yeah, but what they switched over to was they went and said, well, we're not getting enough arms, so they turned over to China and we're getting AKs and other things. But the other thing about Vietnam And I'm wondering if it's the same thing, but Nixon is quoted saying this. I haven't heard a quote from any of the current presidents for the war in the Middle East. Is Nixon is quoted saying, "I don't want to be the first president to lose a war."
Yeah, I've heard that too.
I mean, so what John is saying, we had that arrogance in our own thing of America doesn't lose and we're the good guys.
Well, I mean,
right.
Yeah. I mean, it was what's the term? It's this particular term for it. It's not it's almost a Pyrrhic victory, really.
Oh.
Not exactly what it's, but a Pyrrhic victory is basically the cost of victory is so much it's not a true victory.
Yeah, and that's actually really what it was here for us.
Well, there is, I think maybe like war of attrition. If anything.
It's
War of the Roses.
Pretty much that's part of one of the reasons. In Afghanistan, for example, almost nobody has won in that country is because they're doing guerrilla warfare. What they're doing is they're forcing the enemy to play their game. And so by doing that, the enemy is already off their foot. It's a tactical disadvantage to have to search through caves and do all this.
Yeah.
And
dude, I mean, we're top 5 worst job all time. You know what I mean? Definitely in the top 5. Fucking tunnel rat. Just Google tunnel rat if you're unfamiliar with that term, and listen to what these crazy bastards had to do.
By the way, I've met a couple in real life who have talked a little bit about it. So,
oh my God.
Out of all the war period, 2 of the craziest people I've ever talked to personally is a ball turret gunner and a tunnel rat.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, the ball turret gunners ain't no joke either. That's ridiculous.
Yeah, if you don't know anything about a ball turret gunner, go read Andy Rooney's My War.
My favorite thing about the ball turret gunners. So they were underneath the belly of the B-17.
B-17, yeah.
The B-17, basically, it's a giant motorized ball. They're supposed to wear a parachute, but you couldn't actually fit in there with a parachute. And
you had to be small to get the job, too, by the way.
Yeah. Watch the Memphis Belle. It actually does a pretty decent job explaining it. So pretty much what happened, if something happened and got dislodged, you'd fall to your death. It's fucking crazy.
Or if the glass got shot. Because it's actually a glass bubble that you're in.
Yeah, that's what I would aim for.
Keep in mind, people are aiming for you. They're not just aiming for the plane; they're aiming for you.
Yeah. It actually kind of reminds me, and excuse me, this is not a very political correct term. I don't remember. It reminds me of Smear the Queer as a kid, because you got the ball and everybody's aiming for your ass because they can see you.
Yeah.
Sorry, it's the only term. I don't know what else to call it. I'm an old guy. But yeah, that's fuck. And the tunnel rat guys are crazy because they're talking about you have a little flashlight and you've got a 45.
Yeah.
And you have to make zero noise. And you might run into some traps along the way, so hope you get some wet wipes.
Imagine and go out in the middle of the forest with a flashlight at 12 o'clock at night, then turn it off.
Okay, hold on. This actually reminded me of one of the Vietnam vets talking about the war. And there was another job that reminds me just of what he's talking about. And what the job was is you and a buddy go out into the middle of the jungle, as close to the Viet Cong line as you can. And the problem with the Viet Cong line is that they were hidden and you have no idea where they are. And you're up there with a radio, listening for Viet Cong squelches on the radio. And so what you're supposed to do is every few hours, you have to radio back to your camp. So you're way out there in the middle of nowhere with a radio.
Die. There's no way I could keep that quiet.
And if they don't hear back from you within a certain hours, I think it's like 2 to 4 hours, they start squelching your radio. So you're sitting out in the middle of the fucking jungle where it's dead silent, holding a radio that you know is going to go off.
Hopefully it's unquiet.
And he's talking about that he's sitting out in the dark in the middle of the night, and he's so close to the Viet Cong line that you can hear them whispering to each other, holding a fucking radio that's going to squelch. And he said that he still doesn't sleep without a nightlight.
I believe it.
And his kids were like, and he said that he was talking to his kids, and they're like, "But Daddy sleeps with the nightlight." How do you tell your kids that you sleep with a nightlight because you're fucking shit paranoid of the dark?
So look up a story I recommend reading is Carlos Hathcock,
yeah.
99 confirmed kills. 99 confirmed kills, the story of Long Train. And there's a story he talks about. There's a VC general. And there's a giant open field, and he's sniper crawling. Basically, it's moving like inches.
It's on your belly, and you're basically acting like a worm.
So he's talked about like laying on top of an ant hill, and the entire hill is attacking him, and having the VC guys walk on like literally over him. And this giant open field. So he does this, kills the guy, and beats feet. Read that. It's the closest I could tell you that it would probably be like.
Oh yeah.
Because he couldn't move. Because if he stood up, made any noise, his ass was grass. So that's crazy.
Yeah, but to me, like, I can imagine sitting out in the dark like that close to them. But I mean, like literally, like he was saying that there's like a very few people, survive sitting out there doing that. But I mean, just that's like the short end of the stick to draw that duty.
So do you think in the base they call it snipe hunting?
I don't know if they used that term at that time, but I mean, yeah,
it's like come on, you'll find it. Go find the imaginary creature.
But, I mean, shit, like sitting out there and you're hearing the Viet Cong talking to each other, and you're holding this fucking radio that you can't turn off because it's part of your job.
So in other news, we've been talking about the Reset, the Roseanne show last couple of weeks.
Oh, yeah, I heard she did something. I didn't look it up.
So pretty much what's happening is it's been confirmed. They've actually trying to restart the show based on the Sarah Gilbert's character. Apparently, Roseanne, who actually owns some of the rights to the original Roseanne show, has actually waived the fiduciary rights. Basically, she would be owed money if they actually did the show because of the rights she owes. So the most interesting thing for me is last year it was the number one confirmed, like the top show. I think there was only 13 episodes. So it'll be interesting to see what happens if the new show based on Darlene, Sarah Gilbert's character, if it actually goes anywhere.
I don't know.
I didn't watch the continuation of the show. Did you, Ryan?
I didn't.
I want to watch to see how they deal with no Roseanne. Do they kill her off? Do they say she's visiting her aunt?
Oh, they should say that she had a heart attack and she's in the hospital like they did with Dan for the last season.
Yeah, or, I don't know, but I'm wondering.
They're going to do, honestly, they're probably going to do, maybe they'll do what they did with Suzanne Summers' character in Three's Company.
Well, my thing is that
visiting her aunt.
If they're going to have.
Or something like that.
Roseanne going without Roseanne, I hope they still have John Goodman.
Oh no, everybody's supposed to be there except
I'm
Roseanne.
That maybe like what Ryan said is they just say, all right, fine, Roseanne died.
I think that's
open up at like a wake or something and don't even like have a closed casket. I think she got dragged down by a semi truck down the road and scraped her up till nothing.
Nah, see, I think what they're going to do, Roseanne dies, but I think what they're going to do, they're going to start out on a very somber tone, because basically you're restarting the show. Basically now Dan is a single, is basically a widower. Yeah. So now you've got the trials of him after being married, insert time here, he doesn't have a wife. And so I think if done right, I think it's going to be a great show for Middle America.
Well,
it's going to be
narratively speaking, it's not the worst idea because people have respectfully killed off characters in shows for years and years and years. There's a shitty way to do it, and there's a cool way to do it.
But they rarely kill off the title character.
But here's the thing: is I think they can go with a respectful, because it is the show losing the character, not just the actress losing her job. You know what I'm saying? So you could kill the character very respectfully and mourn the character because the character did mean something despite the actress's actions. You know what I'm saying? So I think that is the respectful way to go, honestly.
No, I agree, and I actually think it's a great way to bring lifeblood into it. I think what they should do...
You have to address it. That's the bottom line. They can't just gloss over it and be like, hey... never bringing her name up again. That'd be weird.
So I think what they should do is some sort of, not ridiculous, not like a soap opera, but maybe she was in a car accident. She was doing something that you would do in everyday life, something that happens to everybody, or everybody does, and she dies. And they should have that in the opening, the next scene they're in, like the hospital, or drag it out for an episode or two. That way you really get to ground everything into this is the new normal.
Well, yeah. And Ryan bringing up the killing off the character. I mean, one of my favorite ones that they ever did that with was the Christian Bale Batmans, where they killed Rachel Dawes. How they took Katie Holmes and switched her with, I'd have to pull up the other actress's character in The Dark Knight, and basically just killed that character off.
Did they do that because of the actress?
Yeah.
Yeah, she didn't want to do it anymore. So that's why
Did you know that?
That's why it became Maggie
Oh,
Gyllenhaal.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Is it Maggie?
I don't remember.
Something Gyllenhaal? Jake
something
Gyllenhaal?
like
No,
that.
sister?
Maggie Gyllenhaal was the one that died.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
was
but
she?
it was still the Rachel Dawes character, and they killed it off because, Katie Holmes. So they had to have some.
Oh no, it was originally Katie Holmes,
no,
and then it
wait.
became Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Exactly, yeah. So Maggie Gyllenhaal is the one who died playing
Yes.
the Rachel Dawes character in the second Christian Bale Batman series. But yeah, that's what they kind of do with that.
Oh, my favorite quip about that, this is kind of a side note, on the last Mummy movie, the original character didn't come back, and there was a line about, you look different, or something like that. She's like, yeah, I feel like a whole new person. Which is that's a great way to do it.
Yeah. So yeah, I'd be okay with them killing her off. I think, as John said, I think it's a great narrative, a great way to bring it in and kind of do a closure thing for Roseanne's debacle.
And I do think the most important thing is, I think in television, middle America, every day, me and you, for example, are so underrepresented in television. I think this would be a great way to really ground it back into in my opinion, the base of the show is average people, because everybody loses a parent. Not everybody, but a lot of people have lost family because of like an accident or something tragic.
Some racist comment.
As long as it's based in real life, like not in a helicopter accident. She went ballooning and fell off.
You know what though? I gotta be honest with you, and blame it on the Los Angeles in me, but I don't fucking want to see shows about regular fucking people. I watch goddamn television to get away from regular fucking people. I'm tired of regular people. I want to see superheroes and fucking American gods and shit like that.
Yeah,
you know,
I don't think
fucking care about race. It's the same reason I hated the fucking Andy Griffith show. Everyone looks at me like I'm crazy for hating Andy Griffith.
Well, I think what people want to see is they want to see something that's obtainable for them, like Friends. Everybody knew it's a funny show, but nobody in real life would be able to live that lifestyle. So I think that's
I want to see the elevated version of life. You know what I mean, or a good cop drama. You know, I watch cop dramas because I'm not a cop.
The Jeffersons. You want to see the Jeffersons?
If I was a cop, I'd probably hate that shit.
What they should do is bring back Adam 12. Let's have a good old fashioned police procedural that's with two guys roaming the streets of Los Angeles.
I want to see the Rocker Files, where he goes around and blows up cars by shooting gas tanks. Or the A-Team.
Oh, they're going to get Jennifer. They should do that and have Jennifer Gardner.
I want to go into a town with an M16 and just shoot off like 50 magazines and just have everybody shit themselves but not die. How about that? So I don't get prosecuted.
So what do you think? They bring back the Rockford Files and have Jennifer Gardner play the main character?
Why not?
Garner.
Yeah, whatever. Close enough.
Whatever. Did she play Maverick yet?
I'm just waiting for that. They're going to reboot every major TV series and movies, and it's going to be all women.
Charlie's Angels.
So, which means
they rebooted that.
Which means they're gonna reboot like Petticoat Junction, but the guys are going to play all the female characters and vice versa.
Shaft, or did they do that already?
A female Shaft got actually pretty badass, depending on how they do it.
Yeah, I'd go for the chick that was in Serenity. I'd like to see her play the Shaft.
But isn't that just like a black version of? Isn't like Tomb Raider just a black version of female black version of Shaft? You know, you have like a kick-ass main female character.
Tomb Raider is basically the female version of Indiana Jones. I mean, did you not put that together yet? I mean, it's a glass ceiling thing.
But yeah, that's exactly what it is.
No, I'm just saying the way the character acts. You know, Shaft was a badass. The new Tomb Raider chick's a badass. You know, it's the same.
I haven't seen the new Tomb Raider, so I don't really know.
I actually got to see it a couple of weeks ago.
Have you seen it, Ryan?
Yeah, I saw it. I saw it.
It's respectful.
It was all right. It was a fun movie. You know what I mean? It's kind of that average sort of reluctant hero type of flick. But it's I like the direction they're going. I mean, I tried to Amber, my girlfriend, was misremembering how bad the original Angelina Jolie one was.
A lot of
so
people
I told her
do
that I would I told her I'd suffer through as much of it as I could just to prove a point.
Okay,
I think I got
wait.
about 5.5 minutes in.
Wait. Hold on. Let's back it up for a second. Wait, she misremembered how bad the Angelina Jolie ones were. I mean, did she think those were good?
She was thinking they were better than they were. I don't think she thought they were good. I think she remembered them
It's fun.
More fondly than she should have, or at least than I felt that she should have.
No, that makes sense because over time, most people, unless you're us, generally think, "Hey, this movie was fun," until they watch it and they go, "Oh."
Well, now I have now I have a real big question for her. What does she think of the Nick Cage National Treasure and Da Vinci Code movies? I mean, does she remember them fondly? I mean, because that's like the same thing. I put those on the same par of the Angelina Jolie Tomb Raiders.
No.
Those are
absolutely not.
Yeah, I agree with Ryan.
Wait, you think the Angelina Jolie Tomb Raiders are better?
No, they're worse. The Nick Cage movies are a lot better.
I can watch the National Treasure movies just for a fucking goof. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I have something kind of brainless. I'll watch some little adventure movie. I like that kind of shit, you know? I can't get 5 minutes into Tomb Raider without literally wanting to just break TVs.
Or be stoned off your ass and hot and drink.
You guys are nicer than me.
I mean,
because
those
I feel
movies
the
are
same way watching the
embarrassing.
National Treasures.
So I will say the new Tomb Raider.
But the National Treasure, that's like kind of your average that type of movie. The Angelina Jolie Tomb Raider went just completely off the deep end in 2 minutes.
So I would say the new Tomb Raider's a couple of things. The one thing I didn't like about it is the video game, the newer release video game, the character was more vulnerable. I don't think they had the time to develop it, and I don't think they had the time to develop it in this new one. But I like the fact you had some vulnerability in there, which I think every character has, not just a female character. You get to see her grow in strength, but still not be sure of herself. So I actually really liked it. I mean, the Real Flicks review scale, I'd give it a 3 out of 5, just because I was impressed. But on the other hand,
they went a little bit.
Yes,
they went a little bit sort of overboard in the beginning when they were kind of going like, "Hey, listen, this is the reason that she's going to be good at this shit in the future is because she does a little MMA and she does some parkour, just for shits and giggles."
That was the part I thought was ridiculous.
I did like setting up her skill set for the future. Like, I wonder if this is going to pay off later.
I did like the fact she got her ass handed to her, though. That was the part at least I appreciated. And instead of her being on Instagib, she got her ass handed to her. I can do this. I can do this. And then she gets, somebody hits the button unless she lands on her ass.
See, I would enjoy that, but like you said, what you guys were mentioning is the backstory part of the movie would have annoyed me.
Honestly, there wasn't much backstory.
Well, I mean, like
there wasn't really.
Establishing skill set thing. I mean, even if it's like a few minutes, I'd kind of be like,
It was honestly less. It was honestly less than that. So pretty much what it was, it showed her some
flashback.
So what? No, it
had
was
Dominic West from The Wire in it though, so that was cool.
Yeah. So pretty much.
And Walton Goggins, that's awesome.
Nice. Right.
So pretty much what it was is she was fighting, and then she was a bike messenger. Shows some of the skills she's learned while doing bike messaging,
like endurance and shit like that.
Yeah, and that's really it. And then it went really quick to, you need to sign this so you can get all your money. And then it's her trying to figure out what happened to her dad, and so the supposition of getting to like the background story was super quick. It was very quick. What was more annoying is kind of the Ken-esque dad.
I gotcha.
But no,
I'm still going to see it. I just,
it was actually really well done.
And also, I don't want to give this away, but Johnny, you'll know what I'm talking about. Well, that doesn't matter. You give it away to James. You didn't give a shit. But they straight up ripped off The Rock.
Oh,
not
yes.
Dwayne The Rock Johnson, but the movie The Rock.
Oh, hell yeah, they did.
Absolutely, completely ripped off. I'm like, dude, this is... What the hell? How do you think...
Where's Sean Connery?
Oh, no, he's there. Trust me.
This was Nick Cage's moment. She robbed Nick Cage of his awesome moment.
Oh, no,
nice.
it's... I agree.
But did she have the long flowing hair like he did?
Almost.
No, that's Con Air you're thinking of.
I know.
They're
all the same to me.
Honestly, that part Ryan's talked about was the only fucking thing that bothered me was that. I did not want that to happen. So that was kind of like... But everything else was pretty good. Even the twist at the end, I was like, I saw that coming, but at least they did it. They tried to swerve you.
Yeah.
It wasn't
Right.
actually bad. And I'm
No.
saying that about a Tomb Raider movie. I've never actually said that about a Tomb Raider movie. My description of the Tomb Raider movies is, it was fun.
That's not even it for me. It's like, nope.
Well, I'm the nice guy. I'm like, hey, I enjoyed it, but I most of the time I'd rather watch a Troma movie than most Angelina Jolie movies.
Yeah, I mean, they say, hey, you want to watch Tomb Raider? I kind of just throw back at them. You want to watch National Treasure? Because I don't want on either. Yeah, and I have used that. That's why I brought the both up.
Was that Ray?
Which one?
I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to picture her face in my head. Was that the chick that played Ray from Star Wars?
Oh, you're talking about the Tomb Raider chick.
Tomb Raider.
I don't know.
I don't know.
I'd have to actually look.
By the way, I would suggest making them watch Gone in 60 Seconds instead. I love that movie.
I
but
would
it's a
rather
bad
watch
movie.
that than any of those, and I don't like that movie either. Hold on.
So Ryan, well, he's looking that up. You got anything?
I don't think it is. Oh, maybe.
That's weak.
I don't
Come
think it
on,
is.
Ryan.
Of course you asked me while I'm choking.
Of course.
Excuse me,
No,
I'm sure
that's
that
not
was annoying
Ray.
for-
She's from the Ex Machina though. That's where I recognize.
Ex Machina.
Oh,
That's right.
Shut up! You get to mispronounce
right.
shit and you don't let me.
No,
You
but
guys hear that? He's racist. He's not letting me mispronounce shit. I mean, she's
That is
also in
racist.
Giarda. No, I'm kidding. It's Giarda. Anyway, but yeah, that's where I would know her
no,
from.
not
Is Ex Machina.
necessarily. Damn, what was I gonna? There was something that I found semi-interesting
Oh, God,
during
she's
this
in
week,
The
but
Man from
apparently it
Uncle. I
wasn't
haven't
that good
watched
interesting.
yet. Did you guys
What?
watch The Man from Uncle?
No, I never watched The Man from
the
Uncle. And
movie?
somebody told me it
Yeah.
sucked, and I kind of avoided it after that.
I kind of wanted to see it. but
I was with Ryan. I heard it was so bad that I shouldn't watch it. I'm like, okay.
I didn't bother watching
Well,
it.
you know
but
what? Here's
I
the
forgot
thing: is
about
that
it.
back in the day, I would have watched it just to see what was going on. But nowadays, like when I have so many things to choose from, the tiniest fucking thing will just hit me over the edge. Like, no, I guess I'll never watch that.
Well, at this point, I just have so little time. Like, I've got maybe maybe an hour, maybe two, to actually watch anything. So I'm very selective on what I watch.
Yeah, and I just never got around to watching The Man from Uncle. It was on my list, but maybe not now. I probably will still end up watching it though.
So I do have.
I'm,
I'm one of those people.
What was it,
I'm
Ryan?
finishing the book right now for American God. That's amazing. That's a damn good book. I recommend actually the show and the book.
How many
Is the
pages
book
is it?
online?
I'd
Or
have
did
to
you
look it
actually
up.
buy
What's
a
that?
hard copy?
No, I didn't buy hard copy. I got it online.
Okay, cool.
But it's really. I love the guy's writing style. Neil Gaiman has an amazing writing style.
That's
Oh, this is it's a Neil Gaiman novel?
Right? Yeah. He's
Whoa.
mostly a novelist. You know what I mean? I knew him from
I didn't know
Sandman a little bit, although I never finished the Sandman series. I need to get back to that. But I knew it because of the show. You know, the show American Gods, and then I saw it pop up online. I'm like, oh, I got to get this shit.
Yeah, I still love American Gods.
But the show and the book are very, very different, but I believe are equally telling an interesting story. You know, there's some parts in the book that I'm hoping they're going to get to season 2, which is I just found out is in production.
Yeah.
So anybody
I know.
who saw that who's looking forward to seeing it again soon.
So I know I know him mainly for his books more than anything else. But so I was trying to look up what he wrote. So novels and children's books. So this is going to be really quick. Good Omens he wrote with Terry Pratchett, which is amazing. He wrote something with Terry Pratchett. Neverwhere, Stardust, American Gods in 2001. Caroline Ann's Boys, Anansi, Anansi Boys, Interworld, Graveyard Book. Believe it or not, the dude's an incredibly famous author for stuff that only a handful of people seem to know about.
Yeah. Kind of seems
Well,
like
because then he
uh,
branched into the graphic novel thing with Sandman, and that kind of blew everybody's mind.
The Terry Pratchett thing kind of amazes me because he's the guy who wrote Discworld, if I remember correctly, which is another famous, I think it's more of a young adult novel series.
Actually, speaking of interesting comic books, Ryan, have you read Invincible?
Invincible? No.
Look up Invincible. It's a graphic
Is
novel
it based
by
off of the
Kirkman.
Mark Wahlberg movie?
No.
It's not about the guy who got to play for the Philadelphia Eagles.
It's not about Bruce Willis.
No.
No, that was Unbreakable.
I know.
Anyways, check out Invincible. It's a Kirkman, and it's just there's a few out already. I actually really like it. It's about basically a kind of superhero guy, but it's a very interesting story so far. I'm in like.
Did you just fucking tell me to read a comic book about a superhero guy, and that's what you're giving me?
Yeah.
Okay. So up there with everything.
I was going to say that's incredibly.
I don't want to get into the story.
I'm sure to make a note.
I don't want to get into the story or the backstory of any of it because I want him to actually go and read it without any knowledge of it.
I love that. That you basically.
Okay, fair enough. You know what? I like being recommended things.
Vaguely.
Just cold, just like, hey, don't know anything about this, just start it.
I love that though. Find a comic book with a superhero.
Yeah. There's zombie ones.
I'm gonna pick up Booster Gold.
New Barbarella type things. There's other comic books or graphic novels, as we refer to them now, that are out there.
But you know what? I like getting into stuff every now and again. I don't do it as often as I probably would like to, but getting into stuff that I just don't know anything about it. Yeah. You know what I mean? I just saw one little image, and I'm like, I wonder what that is. And started watching.
Hold on. I want to bring this up. So Ryan's introduction to, if you guys do not know what this stands for, go look it up. JTHM was me going to a comic book store and seeing this black book with the emblem on it and me going, I'm buying that right now. And Ryan didn't really know what I was buying. He's like, what the hell are you buying?
Read this. I'll give a horizontal hint. Invader Zim.
That
like I said, that's a horizontal hint.
Yeah, there you go. But you can ask Ryan, what do you think of JTHM? It's awesome.
Oh man, and going into that cold, just like, I wonder what this is going to be, and then just page by page, you're just like,
I'm not putting this shit down.
That's what this is.
I bet the first page we're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I keep trying to get fucking James over there to watch that show on AMC. Not AMC. Fuck is it on? I found it on Amazon. I think it's an Amazon Prime original. Actually, come to think of it, called Patriot.
Yeah.
And I want you just to watch it, just not knowing anything about that. Just watch the first episode and go from there. Because I just came across that one day and was like, what's this? Like 3 days later, I'm like looking up when season 2 comes out,
So if we're going to go off recommendations for like books or novels or whatnot, one of my favorite all-time manga is Dark Side Blues. There's a movie and the manga. They're both pretty amazing in my opinion. And the Vampire Hunter D novels, like the first 5, I really like. The rest, kind of give and take. I'd also recommend a couple of things if you're into anime. Grimgar of Fantasy and Ash is one of my favorites because it's an interesting take on that particular genre. I thought that was pretty neat. With being
these are a few of my favorite things.
Well, it's interesting. I've never seen one quite like the way it's done. So does anybody have anything else?
Not off the top of my head, and we kind of went quite a bit. We actually ran for a while on that first topic.
Yes, Ryan.
Yeah, and I'm tired of talking to you fuckers.
Yeah, shut the fuck up.
No, I'm kidding.
Faggot.
Ladies and gentlemen, please.
Whoa, hey, guy. Hey, you can't.
Don't get upset that I called you queer.
Ladies and gentlemen, Real Flicks Reviews, the MadTrio show
does not endorse anything that comes out of my mouth.
That's a bingo. I'm going to have to rewrite that disclaimer. I've said it so much, Real Flicks Reviews just pops out.
Yeah. We should really put the warnings at the beginning of these.
I gotta make some sort of graphic. So, ladies and gentlemen, for Jonathan Charney, James Stevens, and Ryan, please give my condolences to your girlfriend.
Fucking forgot my damn name for a second there, didn't he?
Goodbye.